one of the principal things that you should know about the most common used artificial intelligence, ChatGPT or its brethren, Gemini and Grok and Claude and some of the other ones that are out there, is that AI lies. In industry parlance, we say it hallucinates, and it makes things up. And that doesn't mean that it's always lying or it's always hallucinating. The other thing that is important to know when you consider why does AI lie and what can I do about it, is it says things or it responds with certainty. And that's what confuses us when we're responding to these, is it looks like it's so confident that it knows what the answers are, when in reality it may just be statistically cobbling together a bunch of words, and they may or may not be exactly accurate for the response that we're looking for. It doesn't mean that you can't use this tool. It's extremely valuable. Use it instead of your search engine. Use it in addition to your search engine. If you probably have noticed, if you use Google search, for example, Gemini automatically generates a response. What it's doing is using that same large language model technology, applying it to those research results and summarizing the response to you in a summarized fashion, rather than you having to hunt and peck for all the details. But what you need to do is you need to have a certain level of skepticism about what the response is. And then you need to understand some of the tips and querying techniques that will help to increase the accuracy. A couple of tips that come to my mind. First, tell it what expertise that you want, and tell it the scope of the answer that you're looking for. When you do this, is you narrow the huge volume of data that it's responding to into something more concise, which allows it to be more accurate. Second is challenge it. Again, it wants to please you. It's a sycophant, if that's the right word for it. Tell it not to please you. Tell it, don't just tell me the answer I want to hear. Tell me the most accurate answer. And when it gives you an answer, ask it, are you sure? Another tip, in your response, cite the sources of the information you're using to give me that response. Now, that gives the large language model some constraints where it has to actually go and give you specific examples or specific citations. Once it does that, it tends to ground things in fact. And the last piece that I want you to be aware of, which is if it's an important piece, if something is critical, check it yourself. Use the LLM or the ChatGPT to narrow the scope and give you a general answer, and then do your own Google search. Another source that's still fantastic is YouTube. Right? There's YouTube videos on everything. So that's it for today. This is Mark Kirstein with Our Senior Power.